Tonight, I had the intention of speaking about the 4 paths of yoga because I felt that this was fundamental in the rest of the understanding of yoga philosophy. So most of us know here, when we practice yoga, we're practicing asana. Asana are the postures, the different yoga postures that we're doing, and we've come to know that to be what yoga is, and it's a very good thing. The word yoga actually means union, and it's used in many different ways in Sanskrit, which is an interesting language because lots of the words have many different meanings, and then many different meanings can fit into many different words. And so it's an interesting language. It's very good for poetry because you're never running out of things to say. So tonight there's going to be a lot of different words that maybe you're not super familiar with. The interesting thing about Sanskrit is the way that it affects our mind is different than just a language of communication, like English. I'm sharing an idea with you. It translates different in our mind. They say that it's a language of energetics. And so don't be overwhelmed by all these new words. You might be surprised how easily they integrate into your mind and you start associate them into your regular life. Okay? So yoga is meaning union. In this case, it's the union of the body and the mind. And there are 4 main paths in yoga philosophy of getting to that space of union. One of the paths is Raja Yoga. That's the royal path. It's the 8-limb yoga. There are 8 branches in just this one path. One of those branches happens to be asana. Raja Yoga as a whole is considered the yoga of the mind, the yoga of meditation. And the whole point of Raja Yoga is to bring us to a place where we're able to easily meditate. It's quite difficult for anybody to just sit down and start meditating. Just like sometimes it's very difficult to just lay down and go to sleep. It takes some time. We might have to exercise earlier in the day. We might have to read a book to kind of wind down. It gets us in the right space where then we gently fall asleep. This is the same with Raja Yoga. We start physically with asana. We come and we're practicing different postures. We're aligning the body in different ways. And this leads into pranayama, which is our breath, and it continues all the way through the limbs. The beginning of Raja Yoga, there's also something called the yamas and niyamas. Now, these first 2 limbs of Raja Yoga are a very deep discussion that we will have at a later time. We are all here familiar with asana, and we've all felt what happens when we practice asana. This very simple act of remaining still, even just for 30 seconds, all of a sudden the mind starts to shift. Maybe we start to feel very uncomfortable and we realize how difficult it is for us to relax. So we keep coming, we keep practicing asana, and the effects of asana, because it has to do with body mechanics, because it's very natural with our alignment, it happens quite quickly. Within a few weeks, we start seeing our body change and we start feeling the mind is shifting. So we're practicing our asana, we're practicing these different postures. And then we start going deeper. We know the postures, and so now we're focusing on our breath. Okay, I come to this class every week. I know what posture she's going to say next, so I can just kind of fall into it. And now I'm going to really focus on my breath. Pranayama, the branch after asana. Prana is this energy, this chi, this life force. You're building it. This is why the breath is so important in class. We're breathing through our nose, even the exhale. And even the exhale is building energy. It's taking us deeper into that asana, and the mind becomes more focused. So we have asana, we have pranayama, and there are more intense pranayama practices outside of asana practice, which we've touched down a little bit in the morning meditation classes here. And I do have an intention of holding a weekly pranayama class on Wednesdays very soon that will be shared with everybody. After pranayama, we have pratyahara. Pratyahara is that withdrawal of the senses. So I come to yoga class, I do all the postures, I get super into my breath, I feel in control, I'm like getting there, and the dog next door will not stop barking. and it's totally messing up my yoga practice. But you keep coming anyway. And gently, 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 you have gratitude for the ability to hear. But rather than blocking it out or shutting down or denying yourself these beautiful senses that we've been blessed with, you just gently redirect yourself inward. Rather than blocking out, you're withdrawing, you're coming into yourself. I just have 1 hour that I'm here with myself. And it becomes this romance, just like when we have somebody we care about dearly and we don't get to spend as much time with them as we want to. We start gaining that type of relationship with ourselves. So we have asana, we have pranayama, we have pratyahara. We start withdrawing the senses. What comes next is dharana, concentration. All of a sudden the mind becomes focused. And it starts affecting everything in our life. We come to yoga class once, twice a week. All of a sudden, we're not fighting with our family as much anymore. We're not angry with our coworkers. We're kind of just chill. We're kind of into it. When we have to do something, we're not so much, I need coffee. All of a sudden, I have to concentrate. I know how to be still. I know how to be still. I know how to enjoy my 30-minute break because I know how to snap myself into relaxation. All of a sudden, concentration comes. After dharana comes dhyanam, meditation. Dhyanam, that meditative state. Something that cannot be explained, but can be experienced. Sometimes you have it in class. You're holding a posture, and all of a sudden, was that 30 seconds or 3 minutes? What happened? What just happened? Sometimes it happens when we're exercising in different ways. Sometimes it happens when we're cooking food, and sometimes it happens when we sit down and say it's going to happen. That's dhyana, that's meditation. And all of this, the asana, the pranayama, the pratyahara, the dharana, all of these things, the breathing, the posture, the concentration, it's all building just to be able to simply meditate. Simply be still with the mind. You start realizing first when you come to asana, oh, I'm not just the body. I put my body in an interesting position, and now I'm really hearing the mind. It's like super loud. It's overwhelming. I can't believe people meditate in here. And it starts getting super loud. Now you're aware of the mind. And you keep coming, and you keep coming, and you keep going deeper into your practice. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not just the body. I'm not just the mind. There's actually something back here. What is it? And now you're not just experiencing the mind witnessing the body. You're experiencing witnessing the mind witnessing the body. And it just keeps unfolding deeper and deeper and deeper. There's an 8th limb in Raja Yoga called Samadhi. This is like a magical, mythical thing in yoga. Samadhi is like achieved right before we transcend this body, like at the moment of death. It's that really profound moksha, that full, complete liberation from the self. There are stories of people experiencing this and then still being alive in their body. This is where we get stories about all the great sages of the world like Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Rama. All these people supposedly had been in this state and then chose, even after experiencing this ananda, this bliss, chose to be here and are still here and had that balancing point. I don't know about this. Can meditate. Sometimes I can do cool yoga stuff. I don't know about this samadhi thing, okay? So that is Raja Yoga, and you can see that asana, these postures we're doing, are just one small part of this entire beautiful system. And that's the interesting thing about the Vedic sciences, is that it goes on and on and on and on. And there's a whole medical system. There's a whole system for exercise. There's a whole system for the way that we eat. There's everything, the way that we clean our body. All of these things. So on the next branch of yoga, and these are all equal. I want to share this with you guys. The intention of union, of yoga, is to reach this thing, moksha, this liberation, where we're liberated from the self. We have enough discipline that we're free. We're free. We're no longer slave to the mind. We have this ability to use the mind, which is the most powerful tool that we know of in existence. That's what the whole point of practicing yoga is. And these 4 different paths are all taking us to that same point. Every single one. It doesn't matter which path that you're on. They're all going to take you there. There's this imagery of moksha being the top of the mountain. Liberation is at the top of the mountain. And we have these 4 different trails that we can take all the way up. And sometimes they intersect, and sometimes they carry each other and they cross over. Some are much steeper than other ones. Raja Yoga is very nice because it's moderately known that anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. Anybody can come and just kind of sit in a certain position and breathe. And so it's a good path for most people. And if you feel connected to your body or the want to connect to your body, it's a great path to practice. Another path is Karma Yoga. Karma means action. This is the yoga of action. This is mostly known to be seva, selfless work. When we're doing something selflessly, something that we give to somebody else. It could be taking care of animals that need to be cared for, sharing food with people. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to practice karma yoga, is feeding people, nourishing people, sharing information with people, or doing something more tangible, like literally community service, reaching out. Oh, every Sunday I go and I participate with this organization, and that's something that I do, and I keep it private, and that's just something I enjoy to do. And it changes my soul somehow. This is yoga. That is yoga. That's karma yoga. And many people in stricter yogic paths will have in their sadhana, sadhana is like your practice, your personal practice. They'll do their asana, they'll do their pranayama, and they'll have some sort of commitment with seva. They do at least 2 hours of working in the garden a day, or they feed this many people a year, or they do however they do it. If you look at yourself, you will start to see how you are practicing karma yoga. It could be you're walking in the grocery store and a complete stranger seems to be having a difficult day, and you pay her a compliment and she smiles. Very simple, a very simple act. Or it could be your neighbor is much older than you, and so every Thursday when the trash cans need to be taken out, you take his out with yours. And it's just a simple act that you're doing. And this is causing union inside of yourself. Because the lines between who you are and who this other person is start to blur. It's not so much about going outside of yourself. You're starting to realize that there is nobody else. There is no separation. And that you're all working collaboratively. We're all one organism. So this is karma yoga. People do it in many different ways. And then people who feel that they don't have time to give will often, oh, well, I donate this much money. I donate $25 a month to Feeding America because that's something that I feel good about. And I work a lot, and that money carries my energy, and I feel good about that. And that, too, is karma yoga. You don't have to physically go out there and do it. It's just something small that you're giving back to the world around you. Okay? And we even do this in yoga class. For instance, our asana class tonight was extraordinarily full, which happens from time to time. And everybody was like, well, where do you want to be? Let me move my mat. Hold on. Let's get you in a good spot. And everybody was working collaboratively. Nobody was like, well, I don't want anybody touching me. Like, I need proximity. I need space. No, everybody was like, oh, you're new here. What's your name? Oh, let's be right next to each other. It's fine. We're all one organism, and there's that supportive network. Okay? Another branch is in karma yoga is considered, some people do it very intensely, and it's a super beautiful thing. Like Mother Teresa, in India, Mother Teresa is revered by Hindus, by Muslims, by Christians. Everybody knows what she did, and she's considered a very powerful karma yogi, for instance. Okay. You don't have to do that. It can be very simple for you. It's considered a path that will take you to the top of that mountain where liberation, moksha, is. And it's considered a very gentle, anybody can get there. You don't have to be able to stand on your head. You can just start being nice to people and recognizing that they're part of you. Another path is bhakti. Bhakti yoga, yoga of devotion. And I'm trying to translate these words to you guys the best that I can, but it's kind of difficult because Sanskrit is so much different. And so you'll hear different understandings of this word, but for the sake of this conversation, bhakti is devotion. You're showing devotion. And acts of bhakti yoga are singing. For instance, we start asana class with the dhyana slokas, the meditation verses, that mantra that we do, Om Gajananam, Bhutya Ganati Sevitam, so forth. That is bhakti yoga right there. It's my bhakti yoga of saying that is the same mantra that my teachers chanted, that my teachers' teachers chanted, that my teachers' teachers' teachers chanted, and they gave it to me, and when I sing it, I feel close to them. That's my devotion. That's my bhakti yoga. And we all have that in different ways, and sometimes it's a known devotional song, and sometimes it's a song that reminds us of our childhood that's stuck in our head. Sometimes it's something that we're just humming as we're getting things done. Another form of bhakti yoga is dancing, which is a great way to celebrate, especially when we're dancing with devotion and we're dancing to celebrate our existence. We're dancing to celebrate that our body can move. We're dancing to celebrate the energy that lives inside of us. This is bhakti yoga. A very large part of bhakti yoga is what's called puja. Puja are Vedic ceremonies. For instance, I have my altar here that we set prasad on, the food that we all share with each other. The altar here is an example of bhakti yoga. It's just a very simple thing. Just setting space in a corner to hold space for all of us. And all the energy we put into the prasad, the food up there on our altar, guess what? We're all going to consume it back. We're not giving it away. We're putting something into it and then we're receiving it back. Even this simple thing is bhakti yoga. And you might at home have a place, your dresser or whatever, where you put all your nice jewelry, or some space in your home where you have all the pictures of your family. Even this is a little altar space. Even this is bhakti yoga. In the grander scheme, there's puja and homan. These are rituals that are done, Vedic rituals, according to the Upanishads, which are very old texts, supposedly like the oldest in the world. And they're very exact. Puja is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ceremonies. If you guys are ever interested, talk to me about it. Anything that we talk about in class, if you want to know more about, speak to me about it. And if I don't know, I'll send you to one of my many teachers who does know. Okay? And sometimes we do puja with ourselves without even knowing it. Like, I kind of had a long week. I'm going to take a bath, and I'm going to use a bath bomb, and I'm going to put candles on, and I'm going to lock the door so my kid can't come bug me. And that's something you do for yourself, a little bit of ritual for yourself. So even that, you're practicing bhakti yoga. Okay? And also mantra, like japa. Jen has a japa mala on. These are beads. Or, for instance, we know popularly the rosary. This is considered bhakti yoga practice. It's this, you're practicing ritualistic prayer. Okay? And this word is different in the East than it is here, but it's that same concept. You're giving devotion, you're giving your love into something. Okay? And this path of yoga is considered kind of like wild and crazy and fun, and also can be very disciplined, because to learn the really intense rituals or to learn the very long mantras, you have to have a little bit of strength of the mind. And that's why usually we start with like Raja Yoga, and then it's like, when I come to practice asana, she does this weird like chant, but I kind of like it, so I think I'm going to learn it. And then it starts kind of unfolding. Or I keep coming to class, and now I think I know it. I think it's just in my head, and it just kind of happens to you. Okay. Another path is Jnana Yoga, the yoga of the intellect, the yoga of knowledge. This is considered the most rigorous. Like, you're not hiking, you're mountain climbing, and you're like, I'm going to get moksha. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to have liberation. It's extraordinarily difficult because this involves study. For some people, this is a great path, and they never practice pranayama. They never do asana. They keep completely to themselves, and they just study. They study what's Vedic Shastra, any scripture, anything that has information for them. That's Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, the yoga of the intellect. It's considered relatively rare that somebody would only be like on that path very intensely, because practicing asana helps very greatly with Jnana Yoga. Coming and having control over the body and the mind, being able to sit still, being able to concentrate the mind helps immensely with understanding these texts, these very old texts that are hard to digest for the mind. So usually those two will work together. For instance, coming to yoga philosophy class tonight, just listening to this very gentle introduction to yoga philosophy is Jnana Yoga. So even just tonight, people came, we practiced asana, so we practiced Raja Yoga. We did some mantra, we have our altar, so we've done some bhakti yoga. We've all been accommodating to each other and sharing food with each other, helping each other set up seats, so we've practiced karma yoga. And now we're sitting here and we're receiving information with an open mind. We're practicing Jnana Yoga. So even just tonight, we've crossed over the 4 paths of yoga. And they've all fed off of each other. Maybe before we came, the mind was moving a lot. And then I don't know if I can just sit there and listen to somebody talk. And then we kind of calmed down. And the people that were here practicing asana got really into it and set the tone. So people even who walked in without practicing asana are already coming into that space of it being calm. And okay, I can focus. I can do this. I'm interested in this. So you can see how broad the spectrum is for these 4 paths of yoga. I want to share this information with you guys the best I can objectively without sharing too much how to receive it or how to incorporate it into your life. That's something that resonates with me deeply about Vedanta and yoga philosophy as a whole, is rather than it being, this is definitively what to do and this is definitively not what to do. It gives you so much information and then it says, okay, figure it out. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? How are you going to incorporate it into your life? And I think this is very important. It's great to have teachers in life to help us build a foundation. And there should also always be a point where we break away from that and we decide, well, what is it to me? Because my teacher, who I admire so much, one day decided what it was to him or her. They just decided, this is the way I like to do my sadhana. And if I'm following the way he likes to do it my whole life, I'm living his life, not mine. And so I'd like for you guys to, just as much as you can, sit with all this information and decide, oh, I really like yoga and I know it's good for me and it makes me feel good. It's kind of hard for me to practice asana, but now she's saying I could just sit there and breathe. I kind of like that. All of us are yogis in different ways. And it's very important. Sometimes something happens where the ahankara, the ego, that part of the mind, which is essential for survival, be aware of that. We don't want to destroy the ego entirely. We want to use it as a tool. It's what makes us get up and go to work and make money and support our family and strive for survival. We need it, but sometimes it runs rampant. It encourages us to say, I really want to go to yoga class because I want to learn more. I want to learn more asanas. I want to do more yoga. It's a little bit of the healthy ego. Sometimes we come to yoga class and we're like, okay, she's going way lower than I'm going. I need to push myself farther. And then it starts tipping in a different way. So we don't want to destroy the ego. We just want to direct it. And as our power builds, we'll find that we really need to come into the heart to be able to direct it, because power itself has no moral compass. It can go either way. We are powerful. We cause change, whether for better or for not. But if we are aware of that, rather than saying, well, I'm not powerful, I can't do anything, I'm neutral. But if we're aware of that power and say, okay, I am powerful, and I want to direct it consciously. And now all of a sudden we're kind of a little bit in control of ourselves. Power, as it grows, always wants to control. And sometimes it starts going and wanting to control the outside. It wants to control the environment. It wants to control the people next to us. But you can satiate that want to control by controlling the self and coming into the self and focusing that power inward. And now it starts building in this really, really beautiful way. And so, as you guys receive any information from anyone, process it with the intention of making it true to yourself in whatever regard. And this information, a lot of people have it, and a lot of people share it, and people share it in different words. There's going to be one person on the planet that speaks a language that you understand, that uses the words that you understand and helps you to interpret it and understand it. So many people who teach yoga talk about the importance of sadhana, of your spiritual practice, the thing that you do every day. And it is important because moksha is not achieved. This liberation is not achieved by being happy all the time. It's not achieved by being positive all the time. It's achieved by being open and adaptable, experiencing fully. And this is important to understand because somehow this beautiful system of yoga philosophy that's talking about making it true to yourself and your experience and there being no separation and be present now, somehow, because of the way that the human mind has developed, we want to make it fundamental. We want to say, oh, I'll feel good if I practice asana every single day. And if I don't, I'm going to be very upset with myself. Why didn't I do that? Why don't I care? I was so happy when I was doing asana every day, and now I'm sad. And if I really loved myself, I would just do it every day. And it becomes this weird dogma with ourselves. So I share with you how large the spectrum is to practice yoga so that when the day comes that you say, I don't want to practice asana, then you switch and become a different kind of yogi and your sadhana becomes beautiful. It becomes a romance, becomes a partnership, a relationship. Rather than being in this relationship where now you share space with your partner because you feel like you're obligated to and you're used to it and it's easy and it's there, but it's not romantic or exciting. That can happen with our practice too. Oh, I go to yoga because I'm good at it and I know how to do it and it's fine. If you're bored with it, change your practice. Grow with your partner. And that becomes yourself when you're practicing yoga. That's why I'm saving this yamas and niyamas, the first two branches of Raja Yoga, for another conversation because they're a system of morals in yoga philosophy which have a beautiful intention behind them. But if the mind is not ready, we make it fundamental. We start saying, oh, I can't do that because I'm a yogi, and I have to do this because I'm a yogi. Instead of being present, which is what being a yogi is, being completely present, being in union. And instead of being like, I need it to be completely quiet for me to meditate, and I need to eat a very strict yogic diet to be in connection with my mind, instead you say, this is what I am, regardless of my outside environment, regardless of where I'm at. This is my space, and I carry it with me. I don't go and get it. I carry it with me. So I share that with you guys. So when you start building sadhanas for yourself, or maybe you start recognizing that you have your own sadhana, oh, this is the practice that I do that's close to my heart, and it starts shifting and changing, that you are compassionate with yourself as you start growing through this path of yoga. And that instead of being really strict of, I have to do this every week, it becomes this weird thing. And I did it for some time, and it came to the point where I just didn't want to practice yoga at all. I lived at an ashram. I lived in a monastery. All my teachers were monks. I felt I know all of these things. I can do all of these things. And I did it very intensely. And then I reached this point where I was like destroying myself if I didn't wake up on time, do all of these things before I had to get to class, and then stay present in class and go above and beyond to impress my teacher. And then it became this thing where I wasn't making love to myself by practicing yoga. I was beating myself up. I was telling myself I had to do this to be what I wanted to be, instead of realizing I'm this already. There's nothing I have to do to become pure. I'm already pure. There's nothing I have to do to find myself. I'm right here with myself. And that is what I hope to share with you guys in these classes, is for you to explore that inside of yourself. And to be open to practicing yoga in whatever way is true to you. We have a few ground rules. I like the mats this way. Okay? So when I look up, I can see that's my thing. At home, you don't have to use a mat at all. I don't care. My point is, whenever we practice or whenever we share information with each other, receive it knowing that the intention from the person giving the information is that with love. But you don't have to believe it. You don't have to incorporate it into your life. Thank you for loving me and sharing that information from a place of love. It is or isn't my truth. And receiving all knowledge that way. And having your yoga practice be that way. Instead of becoming fundamental about it. You're in union. You feel good. Regardless of if you woke up at 6 or 7 a.m., you feel good about yourself. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to suppress any other emotion. Be open to it. Know it, experience it, feel it, let it go. Sometimes we'll have a really great asana practice, and we'll have a moment during our asana practice where we achieve this meditative state, and it feels really great and calm, and we're like, wow, okay, I get it. I've been doing yoga for like 4 or 5 weeks, and this happened. This is it. Like, I'm going to do this. We come back 2 days later, doesn't happen. And we're hunting for it in our yoga practice. We're like, okay, but last time I did it, I had this moment, and I felt totally calm, and I healed myself. It was so powerful. And then we want that, and we're hunting it, and we're totally missing what we need that day, which might be completely different. That's really important to keep in mind when we practice meditation. Some days the mind calms. Other days it's so loud. The mind knows what it needs to do, and you have to just let it do it. We want those moments of calm, and then we try to hold on to them. And that want to hold on to them creates all this turbulence inside of us. Renee said the other day, because I was complaining to her about something, and she shared, she's like, I have this technique where I just plant my feet on the ground, and then I just flow in the wind. So her feet are on the ground, but she's going with what's coming. It's fine. I'm rooted. I'm fine. I'm blowing around. It's fine. And I like this concept. You have your foundation. You know who you are, but you're adaptable. This is what yoga is about. This is what practicing asana is about. Getting comfortable in positions that we have never been in before. Well, I don't feel comfortable leaning forward because I feel like I can't breathe. And it's overwhelming. I'm not like, how do I adapt to that? And then you keep doing it, and then you're like, oh no, I can breathe. I can breathe. If I'm sitting forward or sitting back, I can breathe. I'm adaptable. I'm fine. And that simple act of doing that in asana practice affects the rest of our life. Affects the way that we work, we interact with people. Any questions?
Not that I'm angry right now.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. The 4 paths, I didn't know those, but I dabble in all those. I thought it was something that would be unattainable, but it's like, hey, I do. And as I've gotten older, maybe that's more wise or whatever, but I'm getting good at that.
And recognizing
I
that.
didn't have it when I was younger, but I didn't know of it. So, cool. I feel accomplished.
Thank you for sharing, Ruth. I appreciate that. Any other inquiries? Sadhana. Yeah. Sadhana. A-N-A. Everything in Sanskrit transliterated is perfectly phonetical. Your daily practice. Your daily practice. Because there's this concept that self-accountability, they use the word discipline. I don't really like the word discipline because to me it has a negative connotation that if you don't do it, there's a repercussion. I don't like that. But self-accountability will lead to freedom. When you come to the space, and this is, for instance, For instance, for me, the truth is that sometimes when I'm not at work, because I work such long hours, when I'm not at work, I like to sleep in. I like to sleep in. But if I sleep in too much, by the time I wake up, I'm stressed out. I'm more stressed out than if I had woken up just an hour later than usual rather than 4 hours later than usual. And then I'm stressed and I'm not feeling that sensation of being free and enjoying my day. But a little bit of self-accountability matched with compassion. Okay, you worked a 48-hour shift. You're going to sleep until 9 instead of 6. That's okay. A little bit of accountability matched with compassion. And now I don't feel stressed out when I wake up. I feel like, oh, I nourished myself. I slept a little bit more. I'm allowed to do that. And I can still get everything that I want to get done today. Rather than sleeping until 12 because I'm exhausted and then playing catch up the whole day. It's always, my teacher shared with me, I want to share everything very objectively. My teacher shared with me that it's always best to strive for middle ground. It's always best to strive for middle ground. Nothing to an extreme. Nothing to an extreme. Being completely, I'll do whatever I want, which is also fine sometimes. Or being very, this is my schedule, this is what I do. There's something in the middle. And if you can find that, it's golden.
It's hard. It's black and white. It's gray in life.
And it changes, because we change. So it's important to be aware of that. So, well, I've been doing this for 20 years and it works for me. You're not the same person you were the last 20 years.
Or yesterday. Or,
Exactly.
I know 5 minutes ago. I was introduced to like all the rest of yoga before I ever did all. Just the town I grew up in, there were so many different spiritual practices, and my mom's kind of self-proclaimed Buddhist, and my kind of uncle, parents' best friend was a yogi and studied in India, and so I never did a single asana until I met Janine when I moved here. And so what's so weird is because it's so backwards, right? I mean, it just, I didn't choose that. That's just how it was around me, you know? And you would think in my little hippie town, everyone would have been doing asana. No, not at all. So, but now that I not only do it consistently, but now I'm teaching it, I can go back through all the rest that I know, and it has a totally different meaning.
Yes.
It's like learning it all, like literally brought a notepad, because first of all, I knew, it gets explained so differently, and I'm 44 now rather than taking it in at 12.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different deal, but it's so different. Every aspect of every part of it that I knew is completely different to me now. The way it affects my life, the way it affects my brain, everything. Now that I've done asana, it's almost like I'm back to square one, because I started an asana practice and I'm starting over and learning it all brand new, even though I've got the knowledge in there. I'm still learning it. Different.
And the perspective is totally changed.
Completely, it's completely, it just affects me like all the rest of it comes to me in completely different ways. It's like learning it all over again in a totally different way from a totally different view. It's cool.
Being fluid with yourself. Fantastic. Being open to new ideas even when they come from inside of yourself. I wasn't into asana either. I went to the ashram because I wanted to study Vedanta. I wanted to study yoga philosophy. And I said, if you live here, you're doing asana twice a day, every day. And I was like, well, I don't really want to. They said, no, you're going to. And by the 8th day, first of all, my body was tore up. It was, my body hurt worse than it had ever hurt before. Something shifted. And I'd been a dancer and a martial artist my whole life. I thought it'll be a breeze. I couldn't even do sun salutation. I couldn't even bring my chest down to the ground. And I had to keep practicing and practicing. By the 8th day, I was sitting in the sauna and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And my body hurt. And then that night we had philosophy class. And I was understanding the words that were being given to me. And before I was struggling, I was like, what did you say? I gotta take notes. I need to, can we highlight this? I need to get everything into my brain. And then by that 8th day, something shifted and I was able to just sit there and receive information. And I think it was because I was practicing asana. I have no way to quantify that. But my experience was I was very resilient to practice asana. And then I fell in love with it because it changed my brain extremely. And then pranayama changed everything. I practice pranayama every day. Changed everything for me. Just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day.
She used to do that at the end of the class. And she had us starting more reclined, and then she slowly would build us up to a sitting position to be able to tolerate the steps, the straight back. And she's so good at it. She was going to teach a class about, remember, you're saying, you guys want to learn about 8 limbs and learn more about yoga? Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting is Janine knew me since I was a baby. And I grew up in a very blessed, my family is very supportive, but they don't understand me most of the time. And Tara and I were very close growing up because we were both the only kids in our family homeschooled. So we spent a lot of time together. And so I grew up in a household that was more dogmatic and more with love. My parents raised me with a lot of love, but what they thought was truth was sharp to me. And when I would go to Tara's house, the only house that I felt safe sleeping over at as a kid, everything was different with Janine. Food was different. Staying up late was different. I had terrible asthma as a child. Very, very bad asthma. I had to keep this emergency inhaler with me all the time. And I had it in a special little bag, and I would take it with me when I go to sleepovers. And she would just take it and put it on the counter, and I would completely forget about it and enjoy my time there as a child. And that was my experience with Janine. And then when I got older, any excuse to go into the apothecary. I need rose oil. No, I know I just bought some. That's fine. I want a honey stick. Here's a dime. Any excuse to have a conversation with her and having her be very wildly supportive of me. And then when I went to go live at the ashram, being in a weird space of leaving Fillmore and leaving my family and being away and all of this stuff, and having one person in the town deliver the message of, you're never gone. Go do what you need to do. Don't worry so much. People, they have their own things to worry about. Don't let them put that on you. Little words that Janine said along the way. And I wanted to teach yoga here for a long time. And then I let it go and I stopped practicing asana. And then Janine passed, and about some time after that, when I came back to Fillmore and everything, I went through my own trials, and Renee was reaching out, hey, will you come to my mom, to all these people trying to get a hold of me, and I was like, I don't do yoga anymore. Like, I don't practice asana. Like, I'm over it. It's too fundamental, but really it was me being fundamental, not the practice. And I had a really, really bad day, and I couldn't go to my regular outlets. And so I asked my mom for Renee's phone number, and I called her and I said, hey, I don't know if I want to teach yoga for you, but can I please go sit in the yoga studio? Can I go sit in the yoga studio? You know, because it still smells like. So anyway, and I came down and I stayed for like 6 hours. And I talked to Renee and I was like, whoa. One of her teachers is a spiritual sibling to one of my teachers. Her and I are lineage cousins. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay. And then I said, I'll sub a class for you, but I'm not doing it the way that my teacher did it. It's not going to be fundamental. And it's going to be weird, and probably nobody's going to come back. And it went really well, and it meant a lot to me. And it all happened at a time where I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know if I should go back to the ambulance. I didn't know what my job was supposed to be. I'm sharing this with you guys because we've been doing this since the end of March. I started at the end of March. And certain people in the class have become very close to me in my heart. And I really appreciate you guys showing up regularly. And I get so much from this class. And I hope you guys get just as much from this class. And I've said this before in our discussions post-class. If you ever want more information or accountability or anything, or how do I practice at home? Can you help me do this? Just come ask me. I'm happy to do it. I received an extraordinary education in Eastern medicine, Western medicine, and yoga philosophy for free. I received all of it as a gift from all of my teachers. I received beautiful scholarships my entire life. And if I can share anything with you guys, it would be great. And it feels very good to me because I forget a lot of this stuff until I hear it come out of my own mouth.
So the next one is the last Tuesday of September?
Correct.
Did you say you were gonna YouTube all of it too? Did you do that? Have you been doing that? Are you doing it right now?
Let me see. Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, I just voice recorded it. I have a license in it. I don't care to do massage. But Norma's great if you guys really want. Any other questions? Any other peaks of interest for future classes? I'm glad you said that. I'm going to record this so Renee hears me. I'm glad you said that because Renee was considering about holding a kirtan. Kirtan is like when we all sing devotional songs together. It's super fun. And Renee was considering hosting a kirtan here, which is Bhakti Yoga. We all sing and dance, and it's super great, super fun. She was considering holding a kirtan here, hosting one. And if there is interest, it will happen.
So much for doing it.
Yeah, that's
Okay, stay where you are for one moment. Hold on. I have bananas. Thank you for practicing.
Thank you.
Thank you for practicing. Thank you for practicing. Thank you for practicing. Thank you for practicing.
You're getting really good at bananas.
It's an inspired. Thank you for
You
practicing.
really got to move down.
Okay. Can you give it to someone else?
I can't
Thank
do
you. I just
that.
have to hand it